Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this this webinar on managing an Oracle PULA and ULA. My name is Paul Johnson, and I shall be walking you through this afternoon. I'm going to take you through an agenda which is really understanding the nuances of a ULA and a PULA, the strategies when exiting, so all of these agreements will come to an end, and understanding what needs to be done or what you need to consider when you exit a ULA. Understanding the timelines, and at the end of ULA, when you exit, you'll have to certify to Oracle of how many licenses, etc., you require. And then at the end, we'll just look at how can Certero proactively assist you, the customer. So one of the questions to consider, and you'll see the answer come clearer as we go through the webinar, is when is the best time to start planning your Oracle ULA exit strategy? So as we go through the next half an hour, just put this in the back of your mind and see whether or not our version is similar to what you'd expect. So the first topic is taking you through the nuances of a ULA and a PULA. And when you look at Oracle licensing, there are three areas you need to consider. Predominantly, people will buy tactical purchases. So this will be, I've got a project, I need some licenses, you go and buy it, and a customer will build up a collection of purchases they need to maintain. These could be maintained all different types of the year. And the bigger the company, the harder it is to optimize and leverage savings because you've got renewals all over the place. But basically, this is how customers will normally go and buy, and anybody who's got a ULA will normally have started with the tactical purchases, and as things have changed, a ULA becomes more practical. So the ULA is an unlimited license agreement, and it's basically used by customers when they're expecting to grow rapidly or they need to scale up, but they don't know exactly when they need to have the licenses. So predominantly a 3-year ULA is good because you have the access to the products from day one. They are maintained, but Oracle will price it based upon when they think you're going to roll it out. So the best thing you can do is when you get a ULA, try and roll out as much as you can on day one, because then that's your way of exploiting the agreement. When you get a ULA, a 3-year ULA, your license costs are normally paid in the first year, and then you pay maintenance in years 2 and 3. So it's more OPEX costs at the back end and a CAPEX cost up front. The other type of agreement is a perpetual unlimited license agreement. And this is really for customers who know what they want to use and they're going to use it for a long time. You define what products are going to be included, exactly the same as the ULA. However, the perpetual one is very hard to get out of. So once a customer signs a PULA, they're often locked into the contract. And maybe as time goes on, having a PULA is not really good business sense. But at the time it's signed, it may have been where people want to go. So my recommendation is go for a ULA, not a PULA, because after 3 years, you can then start to recreate or mold it as your business model changes. So this just takes you through the different licensing models that you'd see with Oracle. So which type of agreement is right for a customer? Well, when we look at a ULA, there's actually 2 different types. One is capped and one is uncapped. The capped is cheaper than the one that's uncapped. But the capped is normally where it would be for, say, one end user. So if a customer has multiple companies, it'll just cover one business entity or one legal entity. And a capped could also be for things like a project. So it defines a cap, and I've seen some of these in the past where, for instance, for a project, you have got 108 of these, 108 of that, and it is a defined number. So it does help to have that flexibility of using the licenses where you want, but the price is far cheaper because there's a cap on it. When it's uncapped, Oracle realized you could actually go and use thousands of these. So that's the reason why it's a lot more expensive. From a cost management aspect, a PULA would generally carry more CAPEX costs because of the length of the agreement. It's not just for 3 years rollout. They're looking and saying, you can actually roll out now, and still be rolling out in 10, 15 years time. and therefore the amount you pay up front does not always make this attractive for customers. But it could save you financially over a longer period if you're preparing to use Oracle products long term. From my experience, often long term could be for the next 3 years, and then things can change. So a PULA does not always benefit customers, especially if they're going to not stay with Oracle or be required to stay with Oracle for a long period of time. Flexibility under a ULA really does give customers far better maneuverability with license and products. And with the contents, you can rescope your initial deployment period. You can actually sort of like look and go and do it on day one, whenever you want to, and you cut down on some of the purchase orders and things like that. And at the end of the deployment period, which is often three years, there's an element of you can choose to exit, which is what a lot of customers should be looking to do, unless there's a good business reason why you would want to continue with the ULA after a deployment period. Understanding the risks of what you're signing into. So a PULA generally does carry more risks than a ULA, and the simple reason is that once you're in, excuse me, you can't get out. And the other side is, if you don't use some of the products that you've included in the PULA, they will stay. Oracle will not generally remove any licenses from a PULA, whereas a ULA gives you that availability to modify your requirements, say after a 3-year period. Another reason that for a PULA and a ULA audits, and a lot of people are worried because Oracle theoretically can come knocking on the door and then suddenly they'll find something that you didn't realize you're using. And there's an irony of this, that the more you spend with Oracle, the less likely you're going to get an audit. So you'd normally see the customers who choose, who sort of have a choice would not go into the PULA, but it would be a way of making sure that you did not get audited. One thing to consider is, even with a PULA, it defines the products you can use. So as an example, if you did not include OLAP as a product you can use, and you are caught to be using it, then at the end of the day, you could fail. So your investment does not cover you for everything. It is for specific products. So you have to make sure that it's all correct. But a PULA and a ULA is also a good way of sometimes reducing the risk of Oracle coming in, because they know you paid some money and they know what you're actually using. And sometimes they've actually been involved in scoping it as well. The one thing to consider whether or not you do a PULA or a ULA is general housekeeping. And our recommendation is, yes, it should be managed proactively. The biggest things that people get caught out with is, I've rolled out some Oracle products, it's unlimited, I can do what I want, I can use it where I want to. And then often, because you don't need a license key to open up options and packs, you suddenly find that options and packs are opened up because people said, well, it's unlimited, so I can do this, do that. And it's very important to make sure that the PULA or ULA are being managed in line with the products you've actually bought under that agreement. And if anything, I'd say it's more important to have robust change control procedures in place to ensure that everything you do under a ULA or a PULA still goes through change control to ensure that it does not cause you a compliance issue. Okay. So when we look at a ULA or a PULA, there's 3 elements you've got to look at. Why the hell did we do it? What were we trying to achieve? And how do we actually demonstrate that it's a success criteria? Because I've seen some of these before where people have invested a lot of money and you get to the end and people go, well, we never rolled it out. And this was really because the business model that you use to scope the ULA was not managed proactively afterwards. It's as if, well, we've done the deal, let's get on to the next thing, we'll worry about it in 3 years' time. So why did we get into a ULA? Well, sometimes it can be because Oracle, you failed an audit, and the issues are quite big. So what Oracle do is go, well, if you take a ULA, you'll get rid of all these problems, and what they're looking at is they get the revenue. It could be you proactively go into it because you've got a strategic rollout or a model that suits your companies. And I've put there a 3-year business model. Some ULAs could be 5 years. So you make sure that a ULA only is as long as the business model you can attribute it to. So if you believe your business model is going to change after 3 years, do not enter into a 5-year deal. And predominantly you'll find Oracle would look to do a 3-year deal rather than 5-year deal. And also, why do we go into this? It could be to reduce your overall third-party Oracle or third-party spend. Now, will it reduce your Oracle spend? Often it won't, because you're actually buying new licenses and your maintenance that you pay prior to a EULA has to be considered in the cost of the maintenance in a EULA. But at the end of the day, you may see that we can reduce the overall IT spend by using third-party products and closing down some of that spend in favor of Oracle's products, which using a EULA can make them more competitive. So what did we actually want to achieve? So we understand why we did the EULA, but what do we want to achieve? Well, sometimes that can be internally understanding that you're compliant, because later on, if Oracle came knocking on the door, at least it's helped you to make sure that you are compliant. As I said earlier, it can reduce third-party spend, through competitive swap out. So you spend an extra 3 million with Oracle, but you've realized you can spend another, you can release £5 million worth of OPEX costs for third parties. Why? Because the products are very, very similar. Also, you wanted to stop external audits, because it does reduce Oracle coming in, because they've received obviously a good amount of revenue from you. And also allow functionality to enhance. And some of this will be around the options and packs and things like that. So, okay, we now know why we've done a EULA, we know what we want to achieve, but the thing is to understand that whether or not you've actually got the business benefit out of it, you need to understand, how can I demonstrate its success? How can I demonstrate that our investment is working for our company? Well, the reduction in third party is in line with what the business modeling. So you understood why you did something, and at the end of the day, you've now seen that that's been done, and it's actually saved as much or less for whatever reason, but you've seen that reduction in the overall spend. Becoming a remaining compliant, it helps you do it, and therefore it's easier moving forward should an Oracle letter arrive on the door. And also enhance productivity from the products. So tactically, you may say, well, I don't want diagnostics, tuning, partitioning, other sort of options and packs, because, well, they cost a bit and the product would do what it's supposed to do. However, these options and packs can easily mean that the product works better, faster, smarter. And by having those, what you're beginning to see is the product now working in an ideal manner. So these are 3 areas you really need to sort of consider. Why did we buy it? What did we really want to achieve? And have we actually achieved that? And can we demonstrate it? Second area I'm going to look into, strategies when exiting. So there's 3 different areas that we need to put on the table. At the end of the deployment period, i.e. 3 years, you have 3 choices. Expire it, go tactical because you no longer need it. Continue with the EULA as it is today, because your scope of products, etc., has not changed, and it is working out to be commercially viable for you. But also you can go for a rescope. So as the period comes to an end, you could rescope and add in some more products. Now, under normal circumstances, Oracle will not allow you to remove products, but hey, we all know with Oracle, anything is negotiable. You're going to spend more money and it's going to be pivotable, then use that to your advantage. So dropping into expired, this should be the default area that you go to. So at the end of the day, you should always be looking that at the end of that period, by default, I am going to expire the EULA. And from that, customers will have to certify their install quantities and agree that and send it back to Oracle at the end of the period. Now, normally Oracle give you either 30 or 60 days to do that. So unless you have a robust product that actually can work out what I'm using, remembering you can continue to roll out whatever you want until that last day of the deployment period. And then you've got to try and work out what the hell you've got out there within 30 or 60 days. And that's where Oracle uses it to their advantage, because they go, well, we'd like you to continue ULA. I don't want to. Well, if you don't, we'll come in and audit you. And often people will panic, and therefore it's Oracle's way of persuading people to stay on a ULA. You will also find that as you exit the ULA, the ongoing maintenance has already been included in the T's and C's. So irrespective of the amount of licenses you've rolled out, Oracle has already got a guaranteed maintenance cost known to them to help them on their books. So you have to look and go, if we've not rolled things out properly, we could be left with the maintenance on these licenses that turn tactical, and they could be very expensive. Continue the ULA, fine. If everything looks good and you're not going to change anything, let's go and do it. But also remember that it probably will mean that Oracle won't want to come and audit you, because they're getting revenue from you at the end of the day. But I'd always say, look at rescoping. You need to start looking, have we actually used all the products we've included? Were there some others we'd like to have done? Could there be stuff that is brand new in the 3-year period and you'd actually like to go and use? So to me, you start with expire. If you decide not to expire, you really need to look and say, do we want to rescope it? And the third choice being to continue as is, but make sure you've looked at rescoping in case it's going to be beneficial to you. General considerations. Well, you've got to look at your exit strategy, and it should be implemented as soon as possible from the date you actually purchased it. Remember the question I asked at the beginning of here. In our view, it is worthwhile having an exit strategy the day after you actually go and sign the paperwork, or at least as soon as possible afterwards. And this also helps you to understand whether or not you're exploiting the licensed products, and also to ensure that there are meetings within the company to ensure that the ULA is working. Have we rolled it out? Is it in line with the companies? It goes back to what I said before about why did we do this? What were we expecting, and how do we actually demonstrate we got the benefit? But the exit strategy is important. If you leave it to the last moment, you've got so much to do that you may not have as many options available to you. And as I said on the previous slide, exiting is what you should go for by default. And by doing the exit strategy throughout the lifetime of the ULA, it allows you to do this far, far quicker and to be in control of the conversations with Oracle. Product rollout, make sure you roll out as much as possible, because your maintenance at the end will still be the same price. But also you can get the excuse me, the advantage of sort of all the products. If you've scoped them in, you've done it for a reason, so let's get them rolled out, especially things like diagnostic tunings, maybe real application clusters, active data guard, and things like that. If you've got it, use it. It can make the product run far better. Internal product swap out. So as you said earlier, if you have costed in here, well, we've spent an extra 3 million with Oracle, but we can see all these products over here are going to be switched off. Make sure they get done. So this is part of your exit strategy, and it should be done as soon as possible, because the quicker you switch that off, the more you're going to leverage in savings, which will probably be used against the cost of the ULA to start with. New products, and this is an area you've got to be very careful. And I'd say when you are designing a ULA, you need to look at what happens if some new functionality comes into a product that I've actually got within the ULA. The ULA actually defines the full products and the options, the packs as they are. Anything new comes up, unless you've got it written into your ULA that says a new product or it belongs to a family and you've got the family in the ULA, you want that included, then anything else can actually just suddenly become chargeable. And I did one where it was a multi-million-pound contract about 10 years ago. I think it was about 12 million or something. And they thought they got everything. And 2 months later, Oracle brought out a new product, and the customer had to go and buy those licenses, and that left a bad taste. So make sure any new products or anything that you can do, you leave that flexibility that should something roll out during the ULA, period, you can include that at no additional cost. One of the other things that's very important is make sure you do internal audits rather than just at the end of the exercise. And the simple reason for this is it shows you whether or not you are actually rolling stuff out in line with what you wanted. Because in the business model, it should be saying we expect to roll out X% in the first year, Y% in the second year, and it helps you understand, are we meeting the business objectives that we had when we did this investment. The other side for this is you will know whether or not anything has been rolled out incorrectly, and it will help you to actually remove any liabilities. One thing we do see from ULAs as people exit is they've used products that were never included in the ULA to start with. And by running internal audits, it is very effective at going, actually, something's been switched on by mistake, or as part of, say, an update has not switched off, and therefore we can go and close it off before it becomes a problem at the end of the ULA. And the final year, so if you're in a 3-year one, you really need to validate your estate, understand any ongoing requirements, because that helps understand whether or not you need to rescope or just continue the ULA. Engage with Oracle early with factual evidence. So on my view here is, if you've got your audits done, you know what you're doing, you can go to Oracle and go, here's our evidence, we're exiting. Here's our evidence, we're going to do, rescoping. Oracle tend to leave it until about 3 months before, hoping that the customer hasn't got a clue what they've rolled out, because Oracle's view, and I understand this totally, we would like you to continue with a ULA. We do not want you to exit, because they're already beginning to look and go, this money's coming in. And we all know what sales is like if they don't get their money in. So at the end of the day, the more information you've got, the more proactive you're in the final year, the easier it is for you to take control of the conversations with Oracle. And you've got the evidence to back why you're saying what you will and won't do. And if they want to throw the auditors in and you've got all your internal audits done and everything's being done correctly, then you haven't got to worry if the auditors come in, because you already know your position. Okay, so understanding the ULA timelines. This just gives an illustration of 3 years. So initially, understand the ULA contractual wording, rollout. This is what you've agreed in the business model. Make sure it starts to work in the 3 months. I've seen it so many times where people have written stuff into a business model, and then 6 months later going, have you actually done any of this? And the answer is no. 6 months into agreement, if you are going to do any competitive swap out, make sure it has been achieved. I say 6 months, it could be the end of the financial year. You may be expecting, those savings in the next fiscal year, but you need to make sure what you put in the business model is happening. So therefore, we can demonstrate whether or not we're getting value. About a year into it, something like that, say after 12 months, then at the end of the day, let's audit it. Now, if you've got a verified product that is verified by Oracle, like Certero as an example, then this will be easy for you to be able to do. You can see whether or not you've got any compliance issues, and also understand whether or not your rollout is in line with expectation or not. Year 2 afterwards, i.e., 12 months later, again, start doing a cleanup. If you're using a verified product from, an Oracle verified product partner, like ourselves, end of the day, this doesn't have to be annually. This could be ongoing, monthly, daily, whatever you want. But my view here is you need to start understanding your compliance picture at least annually to ensure you are staying compliant and you're rolling out. And probably 6 months before, it could be, you may want to do this 9 months before, depending on the size of the ULA. But at the end of the day, start to analyze and agree what your exit strategies are. And as I showed you, you've got 3: exit it, rescope it, or continue it. The thing Oracle want you to have to do is just continue it. All right. So it's very important that you take the initiative to analyze everything so you know what suits your model. And the one thing to consider is, as you exit a ULA, Oracle will hope you have not got the numbers right. They will look and go, okay, you haven't got these products. Have we seen you having any maintenance calls, and things like that? and be prepared for Oracle to audit you a couple of years later. And often the reason for this is if you were getting it right during the ULA, there's often a chance that if you go back to tactical purchases and things like that, it could easily go wrong. So what I'm hoping you're picking up from this is understand what you've got, audit yourself, and be prepared in case Oracle do come knocking on the door. We just now look at the last 6 months of a ULA, perform internal audit. So as we said earlier, understand your future requirements, your product swap out. Again, the sort of things you went through when you got the ULA, you've got to do that again, because that will show you whether or not you need to rescope. Understand, the company's spend trends, your roadmap, looking at, and again, at third-party providers. Understand what hosts need to be upgraded, additional functionality. And in this, look at some of the projects that are expected to be delivered prior to the rollout date, where you sort of go, we need to bring these forward so we can actually get these licenses at no additional cost. Implement schedule upgrades identified. So if there are any, make sure you get these in before the end of the deployment period. And like I say, about 3 months then, another internal audit. Make sure you keep up with it so you know exactly what's there. And I would suggest at this stage, you're putting in a change control freeze, i.e. done the audit, I know what's there, and now I'm really putting some controls about what can and cannot be rolled out, because those last bits could easily be what catches you out because you didn't know that it happened. Agree your internal strategies and initiate the Oracle discussions. Again, if you leave it later because it suits you, you go in and you'll catch them out because they will not be able to fight you, especially if you know you want to exit and you know you've been internally auditing and you know your figures are correct. Because should they want to use well, we may want to come in and audit you unless you get a ULA, you'll go, that's fine. I know I'm okay because of, and therefore it takes the sting out of the tail. And on exit date, you've got to do another internal audit. So whatever you're using, whether it be Certero, the Certero product we've got, that can actually update data sort of real time, and it can bring in data, on a daily basis. You need to ensure that you can do another audit and agree the figures internally within 30 days of exiting. And that is a big problem to customers who do not have good internal auditing stuff going. Oracle scripts, very reactive, you need to put them on there, etc. Whereas some of the third-party products are out there like Certero, it'll go and sniff out the boxes, it'll go and find as much as it can for you, and it then just makes sure that you are doing the certification at the right numbers. Okay, so when you're certifying as exiting the ULA, you've got to sort of think about what's this really going to cause, and there are some considerations that should be agreed in the company. So ensure your findings from your previous internal audits have been implemented. If you see that stuff has been switched on by mistake, has not been switched off under an upgrade or something, get it done, because it minimizes Oracle's claim that you've derived commercial benefit. Ensure your final quantities are recorded correctly. This is the biggest one that will fail people. If you do not get the numbers right, you can fail an audit later on just because you didn't know what was there. Performance certification using a verified third-party tool vendor. Certero is one of, I think, about 6. Now, the benefit of using one of these companies is that their scripting, whatever they bring on the script, it is acceptable as evidence of usage. So you would not need to then have Oracle LMS scripts run on your machine. So whoever you're using, make sure it can do that, just like our Certero product can. Ensure that any proposed or implemented project requirements are included. So if you've got some that are proposed and, for instance, it's really in the infancy stage, get the licenses for those allocated during your ULA. Do not leave it until the day after because you've suddenly lost that right. And also you need to consider certifying to Oracle software partitioning principles. We all understand the Oracle car park. of if you're on VMware, you have to certify, you've got to show that you've got everything licensed. It's not a model that our customers really agree with. But one of the things you can do under a ULA is go, actually, do you know what? I'll roll the whole lot out to cover all the VMware stuff, so that should Oracle come in and audit me afterwards, I am already meeting that, and it's not cost me any more because I could just use those licenses. But make sure that is done prior to exiting the ULA. Negotiate the next period based upon a verified view of your estate. This is why I'm saying, audit within 3 months before, 2 months before, so you know exactly what you've got, and therefore it helps you to negotiate based upon what you really are going to use, rather than just because Oracle say their ULA is a way of not getting audited. And lastly, just take you through some of the Certero product and how we can help. And this is just sort of, if you're using a verified partner, we would hope that you're getting that out of them. But if you're not, and you're considering using a verified partner like Certero, just to introduce you to how we work. As number one says, we are a verified third-party tool vendor for database, middleware, and Java. And with e-business coming along, and expected to be included in the third-party tool vendor portfolio in the next 12 months, Certero is working on the e-business as well. The inventory we get in is agent and agentless. So it's not about just getting a script and putting it out there. Our system can actually go and fathom out which machines it believes are running Oracle, and therefore maybe find hosts that people didn't even know that were there. Our product provides simplified dashboards, compliance calculations in real time. And by default, we can have data coming in from a database, either daily, weekly, monthly, whatever else it is. And remembering, make sure you've got a product that can certify you correctly within 30 days of exiting, because you can continue to roll out your licenses up until the last day. Exit strategies, hopefully you've picked up from this webinar that we've got quite a lot of skills in here, and the team that work alongside me within the Oracle and the Oracle field, they can bring a lot of innovation. We've seen some of these exit strategies. We can put ideas on the table that you may not have thought about because it's your first exit. So this is about a tool that can do a lot, but also our consultants adding innovation to the tool. And as we look at our solutions, we work with you. Certero delivers a technology-led solution. So it will minimize your business and financial risk. And it's not just about a product, it's about the two working together to make sure it works for you, gives you the right information to make the right business decisions. And also with the commercials, at the end of the day, with the commercials, we've seen how we can do some of the rescoping, how you can continue a ULA, how you can actually get your next period to actually work perfectly for you. So at the end of the day, from the exit strategies and the commercials, our consultants are here to help alongside the information that the product gives us. So I was just finishing off now. And then one of the questions I asked at the beginning was, when's the best time to start planning for your Oracle ULA exit strategy? I would hope that you're actually sitting there going, ideally the day after it's purchased, or especially within 3 months of signature. But the essence of this is, the sooner you look at your exit strategy, the sooner you're going to understand whether or not you're getting the commercial benefit out of your investment with Oracle, and you'll be able to manage it going forward. It's very easy to sort of do something, leave it, and come back to it 3 years later. And this is what Oracle hope you do, because then there's more chance you're going to feel forced into re-signing a ULA. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed the webinar, and thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak to you again soon.